My dear students, now under the heading of a competency-based interviewings, we have to talk about three different types of structured interviews. The most common types of structured interviews are: number one, the biographical interviews; number two, the backward-looking interview; number three, the forward-looking interview. All can be made to directly relate to the competencies, because structured interviews will talk mainly about the competencies, as the topic is competency-based interviewing. So we will focus more on the competencies, but under these three headings of different kinds of interviews. So first of all, the biographical interviews. In biographical interviews, the interviewer takes the candidate through their CV, exploring their experience, their motivation for the job, changes or other significant decisions, and their aspiration. So all of the questions would come from the curriculum vitae, and those questions would relate to the motivation of the person, would relate to the experience, and would relate to the aspiration of the persons to get the job. The interview is structured by chronological order. Chronological order means the most recent thing would come first and then it would go down. So it would be sequenced in years. But it is very important to have a clear set of criteria against which you evaluate the information gathering. So despite of the chronological order, you must have some specific criteria based on which you would evaluate the candidates. You would evaluate the information gathered from the candidate for the selection purpose. The backward-looking interview is, as the name indicates, we will have to analyze the background of the candidate. So background-looking interview sounds a little strange, but all of the interview formats is generally reckoned to be the most reliable and best predictor of the future behavior is the past performance. It is always reckoned, it is always judged that the future performance or the future behavior can be depicted by the past performance. If someone is performing good in the past, obviously there are chances that person will perform better in the future. The behavior of the person would be more serious in the future as well. But if someone's past performance is poor, if someone's background is poor, obviously there are less chances that someone would perform better in the future as well. So you have to relate the past performance with the future behavior of the candidate and what this background-looking interview does. The background-looking interview lends itself extremely well to assessing a person against a competency framework. Say, for example, that you want to assess someone's planning and organizing ability. If you want to assess planning and organizing ability, you have to see the past performance of the person in terms of his planning and organizing ability. So you can judge that whether the person would be a good planner or good organizer if he has done something good in his previous job. So you can depict the future behavior of the persons in planning and organizing. The interviewer asks the candidate, can you give me an example of time when you have planned a particular complex project? So you are asking for example. Obviously, example would clearly give you an idea that how the person behaved in his previous job in any particular complex project. So you can get an idea, and based on that idea, you can ask further questions. The candidate would then begin to recount an example, and the interviewer would then pick up particular issues as they emerge. Whenever you would give examples, obviously within example there are a number of particular issues which would emerge. And the interviewer can ask questions based on those particular issues. Why did you do that? If something has been done by the candidate, the interviewer can ask a question, why did you do that on that particular position? Did the project suffer unforeseen problem? How did you handle them? If you have suffered with unforeseen problem, how as a project manager or how as a leader of the project, how you manage those problems, how you handle those issues. So such kind of questions are very particular and very specific, and it would give you an idea that whether the person is more suitable for the future behaviors in the job. The questions are designed to provide specific behavioral evidence of what the candidate has done in the past by asking about real events. So whenever you need to ask questions, ask about the real events. You can ask for the proof as well. Most of most of the things are mentioned in the curriculum vitae, so you can get an idea whether the person is telling a truth or just making a story. The skilled interviewer should be able to identify behavioral pattern as well as whether that candidate is simply talking a good game. So sometimes candidates are exaggerating. They are telling you a good story about their past performance. But if you are a skilled interviewer, you can judge the behavioral patterns and you can judge whether the person is telling you a true story. The candidate's answers are later analyzed and marked against the behavioral indication relating to that competency. Obviously, it is not possible, my dear students, to evaluate each and every behavior during the interview. So the best time is to analyze the questions and answers of the candidates later on and then relate those answers to the competency framework. And you would get an idea that what kind of candidates you have interviewed.